Welcome to Benny's Bike Social. Welcome to a not so sunny Spain, but more importantly, welcome to the new Nightster, the new 975 from Harley-Davidson. This is the new Sportster. Now, if you're not familiar with Harley-Davidson, the Sportster is legendary. That's been around for 65 years. But in Europe, the Sportster has declined because it didn't pass the Euro emissions. But Harley-Davidson are back with a brand new model with a brand new engine. I'll give you a little bit of spec. So we're looking at 89 bhp, we're looking at 70 foot-pounds of torque. This will rev to 9,500 RPM, which might not sound a lot for you sports bikes guys, but for a V-twin from Harley-Davidson, that's a lot of revs. And the big difference is the weight reduction. Harley have really dropped the weight, which makes a significant difference. I think we're like 36, 37 kg lighter, and they've also moved the weight in the bike. So that's not a petrol tank, that's an airbox. The petrol tank is actually underneath the seat, so you move the weight further down. Now, to lose that much weight and have an engine that now revs makes a significant difference to the handling. You've lost 37 kilograms, you've got a free revving engine, and you've got a lot more ground clearance than ever before.
Still playing about on Harley's new Sportster. Now that's not a fuel tank, that's the airbox. The fuel tank is underneath the seat, back here. So you open up the seat, just under 12 litres, whether that's too small I don't know. Still can't get used to this. Won't rev in neutral. It's there to protect the engine, but it means you can't rev it. Each to their own. Me personally, I like to split the throttle a bit, which you can't really do. But the switch gear is quite nice. Bar end mirrors, they're sufficient, let's say. A few little touches, the brake line. So the brake line doesn't actually, brake line starts there, comes into the ABS system and back down. So the brake line doesn't go down the fork and then it kind of comes out there. This area, a little messy, and there's a few bolts. Like that one there, and this one down there. They're just a bit bigger than they need to be for a bike that's not far off 13,000. But other areas are really neat. So this area is really neat and nicely done, and lovely levers and simple switch gear and simple clocks. Turn the traction off when you're static, that's it. Switch it back on again. Keyless ignition. Dummy fuel tank, so you can take this off and customise it and paint it. You can play around with the bars. There are bits I do like, but little bits, nah, not so keen on. We are on an awesome bit of road, which to me shows how Harley-Davidson are confident in their product. But let's stop talking and just enjoy this road.
Now, we've had a full day riding the bike here in Spain. We've had mixed conditions, but fortunately, I got to get some dry roads. And I'll be honest, when I first got on the bike, I've ridden many Sportsters before. And Sportsters are supposed to be sporty Harleys. And you was kind of like touching it on the word sport, because they weren't that sporty. And I was expecting pretty much the same again. You know, it'll be quick, but you'll run out of ground clearance and it'll be okay and it'll have some torque. But honestly, this is a completely different to what you've ridden before. This is a very different Sportster. First of all, the engine. When you ride it like a normal Harley, it's got torque. That's great. You can just ride it like a normal Harley. But for somebody like me, who loves sports bikes, it revs. Where did they find them revs? It just revs. It goes to 9,500 really quick. It revs up really quickly for a Harley. Then you come to the bends and you think, oh, it's going to be heavy, it's not going to steer, but no. They've lost so much weight and moved the weight, it does handle. And the ground clearance has only improved slightly in terms of degrees, but that makes a massive difference. Sure, the pegs will touch and the exhaust eventually, but it's challenging to touch the ground clearance now, where before it was quite easy and it happened all the time. Braking, we've got some big Brembo brakes now, and when I'm braking really heavily, they're not fading like they did on the previous bike. There's multiple rider modes, so we've got Sport, Road and Rain. They change the traction control and the ABS. The traction control and the ABS are not lean sensitive, but they work reasonably well. You can feel it kick and then kick back out. The ABS equally, the brakes are strong, you can feel the ABS working. That's really impressive. Finally, there's the customization. Once we get away from the actual handling and mechanics of the bike. Because this is an airbox and completely false, the only difference in colours between the two models is the difference of the dummy tank. So that's quite easy to remove and customise. There's going to be pillion options, different sissy bars, different backrests, different bars, different exhaust, different pegs. It's kind of like an open canvas for what you want to do. But for me, away from the customization, the big improvement for me is the weight, the handling. The Sportster was always kind of like not that sporty, to be perfectly honest, but now it is. You can say this is sporty. You can chase your sporty mates. If you're going from a sports bike to a Harley and you're tempted for this, it does go around corners, it has got over rev, it's an enjoyable bike to ride. The downside, sports mode, it's just too snappy on the throttle. For me, I wouldn't even bother with sports mode. Just ride it in the standard mode, or if you get terrible conditions like we've had, flick it into the rain mode. Sports mode is just a bit too harsh and a bit too much. Aside from that, it's really difficult to fault. In the UK, it's just under 13,000 or just over, depending on your colour option, or 125 a month. I think that's tempting on PCP at 125. I think it's going to be popular. And finally, the Sportster has got sporty.